Alright, our top focus, the Sabrimala Shrine in South India is set to open its gates to women of menstruating age for the first time today after the Supreme Court verdict came last month. The gates are scheduled to be reopened at 5:30 p.m. India time, but tension is mounting at the Sabrimala Shrine with devotee bodies, Hindu organizations and various political outfits gearing up for a show of strength against the move to implement the Supreme Court verdict. Two women who tried to enter the Sabrimala Shrine were stopped by angry devotees as Kerala remained on the edge over protests against the Supreme Court verdict, allowing entry into the shrine to women of all age groups. Security has been stepped up on roads leading to the shrine, even as devotees of Lord Ayyappa continue to vigilantly check vehicles for women between the age group of 10 to 50 at Nilakkal, the main gateway to Sabrimala Shrine. An angry mob protesting against the entry of women into Kerala Sabrimala Temple went on a rampage and attacked women and journalists covering these protests.
If any lady people who are not allowed for the age group after 10 below 50 in this age group, any lady pilgrims will come to, female gender will come to Darshan Ayyappa. We will also participate to protest to stop that people.
The Travancore Devaswam Board, the body that administers the shrine, also held a meeting on the matter with all the stakeholders. The board decided to take a call on the review petition on the 19th of October. Meanwhile, Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan has said that the government will not allow anyone to take law and order in his or her hands, adding that the government will not submit a review petition.
We are right now standing at Nilakkal, which is like a base camp 20 kilometers away from Sabrimala. It was exactly at this location, at this junction, that we see that yesterday a lot of women and a lot of Ayyappa devotees belonging to several organizations blocked buses and private vehicles. In fact, these women and devotees were checking these private vehicles and buses and looking if there were women between the age of 10 and 50. And whenever women, including journalists who are between the age 10 and 50, tried to pass beyond this point and go towards the Sabrimala temple, they were blocked yesterday and they were sent back. But now today morning the situation is entirely different. The police are here and a large number of police personnel have been deployed. There's about 600 police personnel deployed, including women police at this place here in Nilakkal. And the top police official here, the IG, has also clearly mentioned that the police are ready to face any eventuality, and the police is obeying the state government's line, which is to implement the law and order situation as per what the Supreme Court has said. The police is reassured that they are ready to face any eventuality, and the police has also said that they will be here to uphold the law and order situation, and nobody under any circumstances will be allowed to take law and order into their own hands. As a stark contrast, as you can see towards that side, there are several hundreds of Ayyappa devotees who are gathered here. They are shouting slogans and they are chanting in praise of Lord Ayyappa. They are of the other camp who believe that ladies between the age of 10 and 50 should not be allowed into the Sabrimala shrine. The shrine will be opened today evening from 5:30 p.m. onwards, and it is going to be a crucial day here in Kerala for the people to know whether women devotees will enter or whether law and order situation will prevail here, whether Supreme Court order will be upheld, or whether ladies will actually follow the Supreme Court order, and between the age of 10 and 50, whether these ladies will end up entering the temple.
As protests escalate in the temple town, Kerala minister has raised doubts over who these miscreants are, hinting at the fact that those indulging in violence in Sabrimala are not devotees.
Yes, I can predict what is going on there. I think it is intentional. It is dirty politics they are playing. We can't say them they are actual devotees, because in front of God there is no discrimination for women and men. If a woman wants to go to the God and she wants to give their prayers there, she can get relief from their mental tension and other things. If she wants to do so, why they are denying that? Supreme Court order is a very good order, we can say like that. It is constitutional. Our constitutional rights should have to be protected. Government is bounded to implement that Supreme Court verdict, Supreme Court order.
Right, we are getting live visuals of the conflict that's unfolding in Kerala. There's chaos that's unfolding in Kerala in the wake of that big development that today the gates of Sabrimala Temple are all set to open for women. But in the run-up to that big development, we've seen a lot of chaos, conflict and violence. A lot of media journalists, women journalists were attacked earlier in the day by the protesters. Some vehicles of media personnel were also attacked. Protesters, look at your screens now. These people are on a rampage. They're opposing the Supreme Court verdict that allowed women from the age of 10 to 50 enter the Sabrimala temple. But on your screens is the tension and chaos unfolding in Kerala, in the Nilakkal area, where the gates to the Sabrimala temple are all set to open for women today. A few women were sent back who wanted to enter the Sabrimala shrine, was sent back by the protesters earlier in the day. I remember there were threats of suicides, mass suicides and disruption also made by some protesters who don't want women to enter this temple because they say that it hurts the religious sentiments of the devotees of Lord Ayyappa. This is the first time since the Supreme Court lifted the age-old entry ban on women in the 10 to 50 age group. Today is the day when the gates will open at about 5:30 p.m. India time. But in the run-up to that development, a lot of chaos is unfolding in Kerala. It's a showdown between the security personnel and the protesters who do not want these gates to be reopened for women. Earlier in the day, as Wion was telling you, a few devotees tried to make their way to the shrine. A woman was sent back by these protesters. The police has also detained multiple protesters for blocking the pilgrims. The security has been beefed up in the area. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of tension unfolding there. According to reports, many protesters have been detained in the wake of this development. The gates are all set to open at 5:30, but protesters are also on the streets who do not want this to happen. Earlier in the day, media organizations' vehicles were damaged. 3 women journalists were also attacked by protesters in the run-up to this development. On your screens, you can see police officials there trying to control the situation in Kerala. Earlier in the day, armed mass mobs also targeted those people who wanted to enter the shrine. This included a lot of media persons who were just there to do their jobs. Women journalists especially had to face the brunt of these protesters. 4 media organizations were targeted in this chaos. The controversy is that traditionally this temple was closed to women who were aged between 10 and 50 years. This famous shrine to Ayyappa is all set to open its doors to women this evening. This after the Supreme Court of India, the top court of the country, lifted the ban in a historic order. It was hailed by everyone as a step towards equality. And the protests have been on weeks, and there were threats of mass suicides and protests earlier in the day. And in the run-up to this day, there were organizations that had been calling on protesters to gather at the shrine and oppose the entry of women who want to worship in the holy shrine. Last month, India's Supreme Court said that women of menstruating age, that is 10 to 50 years, must be allowed into the temple. The Supreme Court had called the practice of banning women almost like untouchability. And back then, when the verdict was announced, it was hailed as a historic decision. The Supreme Court likened the ban to that of untouchability. And today, in the run-up of that big development, when the gates are all set to open at 5:30 p.m. India time, we are seeing chaos and tension unfold on the streets of Kerala. right from the base, from where the entry to the Sabrimala shrine begins. From there, a lot of women were turned back by the protesters. Their entry was opposed by protesters. Women journalists of media organizations were also attacked by these groups who do not want women to enter the shrine. In fact, a lot of politics is also unfolding. Political parties are taking sides, and they have also been vocal in their support of this agitation. These are the live visuals that we are getting from Kerala. In some time now, almost an hour later, we'll see the gates to this temple open after that historic verdict that was delivered by India's top court last month. For more on this, I'm joined by Wion's correspondent Siddharth, who's reporting live from the location from Kerala. Siddharth, there's a lot of chaos that we can see on our screens. The police is having a tough time. They are trying to tackle the protesters who are running amok and who are on a rampage. Give us more details. What is the scene right now at the Sabrimala shrine?
Well, yes, of course, as you just rightly mentioned, it is absolutely chaotic here, and every bus and every car that is passing by with broken doors and windows. In fact, the situation was so tense that some of the people were beaten up extremely badly, and nobody expected the violence to actually get to this level all of a sudden, because from the morning, yes, there were isolated instances, and whenever women were venturing towards the Sabrimala side, towards Pamba, they were always asked to get down from the vehicles. They were heckled and asked to return, but now it is the police and the protesters that are clashing head on. So this is something that has not happened in the last few days, and now finally they're even clashing head on. Instances of stone pelting, instances of breaking the vehicles and their glasses also.
Right, Siddharth, for the benefit of our viewers, could you give us some details about the kind of preparations that have been made by the security personnel? Because the gates are all set to open at 5:30 p.m. and we've already seen the kind of violence that's been taking place since morning. So has the security been beefed up, or additional forces have been deployed to ensure that there is no violence or no untoward incident when the gates are finally opened at 5:30 p.m.?
Yes, of course, the gates at Sabrimala will be open at 5:30 p.m. But what is expected to happen, untoward incidences could happen at Nilakkal, just like it happened a couple of minutes ago, because that is the entry point. It's a 20-kilometer drive from Nilakkal to Sabrimala. So it is from this entry point that things could go wrong, as it did a couple of minutes ago. So at the entry point, at the morning, there were around 500 to 600 police personnel. Now a larger posse has joined them. They've come with riot gear, they've come with their shields, and they've also come with the lathis. So it was those people that were involved in the clash with the protesters over there, and now they have barricades, and they've also brought in reinforcements to ensure that things don't get out of hand.
Right. Siddharth, I want to understand, who are these protesters? Are they affiliated to any political party? Who are these? For the benefit of our viewers, could you explain the background of these protesters? Is it a group, or are these ordinary people who are out there who say that their sentiments will be hurt? Because we've seen the political parties also in the state and the centre switch their sides as far as the Sabrimala temple controversy is concerned.
Yes, with regards to the political background, we can mostly say that they are saffron-oriented parties, because mostly the protesters were saffron-related organizations. And of course, it was a motley assortment as well, because we had some of them who were just commoners who were protesting because their sentiments are being affected, their sentiments are being hurt. So it was a mixture of people. It was a random mixture of people who were uniting for the same cause. There were women as well, there were children, there were also young men who were part of that protesting party. But of course, you cannot call them to be a part of a single group. They were a gathering of several groups together at the same location for a common cause. In fact, we've even received inputs that these people are not locals but have come from various districts of Kerala, because they felt that this was a pressing issue, and they felt that they could do something by being on the ground and sending out a larger message to the people of India that their sentiments are being hurt. So they're here for a common purpose, and they're from multiple organizations that are obviously not from the communist parties, but it's basically the BJP and the right-wing outfits that these people belong to.
All right, thank you so much, Siddharth, for getting us live updates from Kerala, where the Sabrimala Shrine is all set to open its gates for women between the age of 10 to 50 after the Supreme Court order. But what we've seen, what we've been witnessing since morning is not something that is too pleasant. In fact, Sabrimala is one of the biggest pilgrimages in the world, with millions of people offering prayers at the temple. The temple is open to people from all religions, but not women between the age of 10 to 50, because that's the age of the menstruating women. But today the history is all set to be scripted, but we are seeing these chaotic scenes unfold in Kerala. Wion will get you all the latest as far as the big story developing in India.